If you like the look of a classic 1970s rangefinder but don't want to worry about exposure settings, then this might be just the camera for you. The Mamiya 135EE. Let's dive straight in. It's got a 38mm f2.8 Sekor lens. Sekor lenses are apparently well known for their sharpness. Not much else to say about this lens, apart from the fact that Mamiya has gone for 38mm rather than the more popular 35mm focal length. In front of the lens, you can see the CDS cell located just above the lens element. This is within the filter ring, so there's no need to compensate for filters. Around the lens element is the ring for setting the film speed, which ranges from ASA 25 to 400. There are two rings around the lens. The first is for selecting between various flash settings and auto. Because this camera is full auto exposure, there is nowhere to set the aperture or shutter speed. The camera selects the speed aperture combination when the inner ring is set to auto. Both of those, the aperture and the shutter speed, are set in unison. For example, at f4, only 1/125 speed can be selected. The aperture range is from 2.8 to 14, although the camera appears to be able to stop down further than f14 in actual use. The shutter, which is a leaf shutter by the way, ranges from 1/30th to 1/650th of a second. The second ring is for focusing. This camera really cares about focusing and gives you three distinct ways of doing it. The first way, which is my preferred way, is via the rangefinder mechanism. The second is by using the focal distance marks on the ring. The markings are from 1 meter to infinity. The third way is by using the icons on the bottom of the lens. There are 4 of them: mountain for infinity, group shot, 2 people shot, and a head and shoulders portrait shot. There is a small lever on the ring to help with the focusing action. To the side of the lens is a self-timer. The self-timer gives you about 10 seconds to prepare. The film is loaded at the back as usual. Pulling the rewind lever causes the back to pop open. Once the film is loaded, it is advanced via the usual lever on top of the camera. Right next to it is the frame counter window. The frame counter is reset when the camera back is opened and closed. When you are finished with the film, it can be rewound using the rewind lever. The rewind lever is enabled by first depressing the rewind button at the bottom of the camera. Also at the bottom of the camera are the tripod socket and the battery compartment. Talking of batteries, the Mamiya 135EE takes the PX675, which are now illegal in most parts of the world. You can however use equivalents such as the LR44 or 675ZA, which is a zinc air battery. The voltages are slightly different, but I think, to be honest, the exposure latitude of negative film makes any subtle exposure errors virtually negligible. Be sure to use a lens cap though, otherwise you will find the battery gets flat very quickly. Because there is no off switch, the light meter is always using your battery juice when the light is hitting it. Composing with the Mamiya is easy with the rangefinder patch in the viewfinder and the bright frame lines and parallax guides. You can also see the aperture speed combination picked by the camera. There is a needle that moves up and down to depict this. Back to the top of the camera. More about the shutter. It is threaded so it can be used with a cable or soft release button. There is also an accessory shoe for mounting such things as a flash. Talking of the flash, the Mamiya 135EE originally came with a dedicated flash, the 1600B, which I sadly don't own. There are no flash guide numbers on the ring around the lens, rather just 4 dots. The range is from 10 to 40 I believe, so it's safe to assume that each icon is in steps of 10, i.e. GN10, GN20, GN30 and 40. So you set the GN of your flash and the camera picks the aperture based on the focal distance. That's about it. The Mamiya 135EE. A very simple to use camera. With its auto exposure, you can't go wrong with this as a holiday camera. It's relatively light and it's portable. With its super silent shutter and its 38mm focal length, it will be popular with street photographers, especially ones that are interested in taking candid photos. For me, the Mamiya's strongest point is its focusing. Apart from the fact that it gives you 3 ways of doing it, at 38mm, most shots will be in focus anyway, at apertures over f4 say. This is followed by the sharpness of the lens. I think it's on par with most Zuiko lenses, especially the one on, say, my Olympus 35 RC. And that's really high praise because the RC is really sharp. This means you're going to get well-focused, well-exposed, sharp photos. Well, who cares anyway? Nobody cares about your photography. No, but seriously, the only thing I don't like so much about this is the aperture speed combination thing. I find myself disagreeing with this camera setting almost all the time, especially when it refuses to pick f2.8 or f4 when I really want it to. Then I remember, yes, of course, it can't. It has to pick a given speed for every aperture, so the settings are almost always different from what I have in my head. Like an 18th century arranged marriage you can't get out of. That can be quite uncomfortable for photographers that usually like to be in control. But that's just it. It's designed for people who want to give up control, or were never in control in the first place. Much like a powerful CEO who visits a certain genre of club after hours. Until next time, Ila Alika wa Eid Mubarak.